have it. He's with us now, Kyle Turley. Kyle, it's Tiki and Tierney. How you doing today, man? What's happening?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on with us again. I think we saw you a few years ago down at one of the Super Bowls. But let me get your initial thoughts on what you believe the impact of this new movie, Concussion, about Dr. Bennett Omalu is going to have on not only the perception from the league and the players, but from the fans of the game.
It's going to be interesting for sure. Hopefully people will give it the chance. It's coming out the same time as Star Wars, and so people are going to be excited and busy with that movie. But it's around the holidays, and people got the time off, and hopefully the football fans out there, if they're truly fans, they'll go to find out the history of this game and understand why we are where we are today, and hopefully how we can fix it.
One of the big premises of the movie is centered around Dave Duerson and Andre Waters, both of whom committed suicide this year. Now, a lot of the problems that they were facing are things that you've talked about a little bit, Kyle, the issues with some of the medications and wanting to jump out of, the windows. Explain your journey with your head trauma, but also just the dangers of playing the game of football for as long as you did.
Well, the danger is that it's a dangerous sport. We understood that going into it. We didn't understand it in its entirety, though, unfortunately. We understood it orthopedically and what it was going to do to our joints and knees and, shoulders, elbows, fingers, toes, etc. But we ignored the most important injury that this sport creates, and that's our brain injury that we are dealing with at this time. It's not something that is unique to Dave Duerson or Andre Waters, who committed suicide a long time ago. We've since had a number of players that are even just fresh out of the league. Some college players, an LSU player just committed suicide who was fresh out of college. This is what we saw with Ohio State. This is an ongoing dilemma that we have to face. The sport of football has consequences. The most important one that we need to pay attention to is the consequence to our brain and what we're doing to it. There are things that can be done protocol-wise to help mend this issue and really fight and combat against it, just like any other injury. When you're injured, you go and you try to address that injury to get it back to being as good as it can. It's never going to be the same. But unfortunately, we've chosen to ignore our most important injury, and that has caused a great deal of damage to not only our brothers, ourselves, you included, even though some might ignore it or try to say they don't have it. It's there. It's very visible, in fact, on a basic MRI scan. So the inherencies that we have are definite aspects to consider. Each one of us is made up chemically different based on our genetics, but this injury plays on areas of the brain that are highly important to us to pay attention to. And these things that we just kind of pawn off as just getting old and whatnot, we're facing these things at quite young ages.
Kyle, I'm going to make you commissioner here, and again, I agree with your thoughts. I think most people would, but to me, it's less about treating the issues, and I think it's more so about preventing them. So you're the commissioner. How do you prevent this? What do you implement? What do you do?
Well, it's funny because that's the unfortunate thought process that's going on. We are not addressing this and how we can fix this. We are continuing to just count concussions and try to lessen them. This is an inevitability in our sport. You cannot play football without obtaining a head injury. So what do we do about that? And there's a myriad of things that we're developing outside of the NFL world that are helping this issue in a big way with cryotherapies and all kinds of oxygen therapies, etc.
Somebody just died from Kyle. Somebody just died from cryotherapy. Did you see that last week? Somebody died.
Yeah. Well, I don't know the particulars around that. I'd like to understand why they died.
They froze to death.
Well, then obviously they were in there too long. So we're not having the best minds, that's what that tells me, on this case. And the NFL has the amount of money to be able to support programs that develop technologies to help this injury. Right now it's being piecemealed together by individuals out there who don't have funding that the NFL has and the ability to use facilities that the NFL could create. We are not addressing this injury. We're continuing to just count this injury, and that's unfortunate.
Kyle Turley with us here on CBS Sports Radio. Kyle, great empathy for your cause here, but I still didn't hear an answer, and I don't mean that the wrong way, but I mean unless it becomes two-hand touch, this is not going to change. I mean the brain, it is what it is. It's delicate. It's irreversible. So I
That's
love.
not true. And that's the
Okay, go
important
ahead.
thing that people need to understand.
Go ahead.
And that's what I was getting to before you interrupted.
Go ahead.
And what it is that Dr. Omalu has discovered this disease. He's discovered where we're damaging our brains. And also, he's just signed on to Cannalyze Sciences to help develop cannabis technologies that have been proven in studies around the world to be something that helps with traumatic brain injury. It helps to lessen the damage, and that can actually help to repair the damage. There is no current medication on the market that has that ability. Cannabis has been proven, has been funded by our own government. Our government owns a medicinal patent on cannabis for a neuroprotectant. You can look it up. This is something we have not been fully informed about. We've been more kept from it for certain reasons, and what those may be, I could care less. I love football. I love my life. I want to have it to be as long as possible, just like I would like my career to have been as long as possible. Unfortunately, it's been at the neglect of individuals who know things about certain things that are out there that can help this, and they're not telling us for some reason.
Yeah, no, Kyle, it sounds like the answer to BT's question is that you decriminalize marijuana use in the National Football League. It seems like they're trying to do that because some states have decriminalized it in some ways and give athletes, at least football players, even boxers or whoever, an option on how to try to heal themselves.
Of course, and more so, they should be progressing the advancement of this. If there's one medicine out there that could help stave off this injury, help repair this injury. I mean, we're ignoring this injury from age 5 years old until junior seau. That's the reality that we've been experiencing and how we've dealt with this injury. So anything that looks to be promising should be examined and researched on the highest level, pun intended. There is an important bit of information to be had in that we are ignoring the one thing that, and more so, we're punishing our players for the one thing that actually could be helping them.
Yeah.
But what we've done worse off is that we've allowed it to be demonized, and we allow it to be shown as this smoking element, getting, ripped and tore up, this, that, and the other. And scientists have been leading technologies on this around the world to where you do not have to have a high. You don't have to have euphoria. Although we can continue to say these things about cannabis, we enjoy our highs from Vicodin and Percocet and all these other things that our doctors are giving us freely that are running rampant in our communities and killing us, and ours is the biggest one. We have a death rate that is attached to pharmaceuticals that is unconscionable, and a disease that needs immediate attention, and no longer can we say that we don't know enough about a medicine that grows from the ground, has existed for thousands of years, and used as a medicine around the world. If there's one thing that can save football, it is going to be cannabis, and you can mark my words.